Welcome to Chicks Who Fly, a podcast dedicated to women pilots and women in aviation. My name is Inaia, and I am your host. I am a vocalist, a DJ, and a producer, and I'm also a student pilot. I am currently working on my private pilot certificate, and while I am getting some finances in place to finish my training, I have decided to stay active in the aviation community by starting this podcast, among other things. I plan to interview and feature different women pilots and women in aviation and bring those interviews to you. And hopefully you guys enjoy the interviews as much as I enjoy spending time with these amazing ladies. Today we have our very first episode of Chicks Who Fly, where I will be interviewing Alejandra Newport. She is a commercially rated pilot who also has her multi-engine. She is a CFI and CFII that I had the great pleasure of flying with in North Las Vegas in Nevada. I did a short cross country with her, which was one of my best moments in my training so far. And I've always been really impressed with this amazing pilot and human being. As you will hear in today's interview, Alejandra is from Colombia, and she became a pilot here in the United States. I learned many things about her that make me even more impressed than I already was, and it was really an honor to have her as my very first guest on Chicks Who Fly. One quick little disclaimer I do have to give is that we had some problems with the audio when I was recording the phone call, so there are parts where my voice sounds distorted and difficult to understand, so I really apologize about that. That's particularly embarrassing since I produce music, but recording a phone call and doing a podcast is completely new to me, so please forgive me and bear with me, and I will correct this problem in the future episodes. So without further ado, here is the conversation that I got to have with Alejandra Newport.
So welcome. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm so excited for you to be my first guest. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I'm very excited to be your first guest.
I'm just excited to do this for people because when I was a little girl, I loved flying, but I used to say I wanted to be a flight attendant because I had never seen a woman pilot and I didn't know it was a possibility for me. So if I find really cool women pilots to talk to and put it out there, maybe someone will be inspired and will realize that it's a possibility for them.
When I was a little girl, I always wanted to fly. And when some girls, they want to be singers, or they want actresses, or they want doctors, my idea was to become a pilot at some point of my life. And I didn't know that I was able to achieve it at some point. So it really got me by surprise.
How old were you when you first started wanting to be a pilot?
Well, I was 3. I come from Colombia, from a little town near to Medellin called Rio Negro, Antioquia. And I was blessed because my little house was very close to the airport. So I was able to see the big airliners land and fly very low by my house. But, even in any place of the world, everybody knows that aviation is a very, very expensive career. And I never thought that I was able to get the money to afford it. But I think that everything worked out at some point, and I was able to become a pilot.
Well, that's amazing. That's actually one of the things that I definitely plan on asking you about. But how did you finally start training, and where, and what was that process like for you?
Well, everything happens a little bit strange. When I was in Colombia, after I graduated from high school, I graduated from high school with a half technician in industrial mechanics. That means the people that work on the big machines to make bolts and make gears. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, very cool.
And I was thinking with my mom that that would be the best way to be close to aircraft by being a mechanic because I couldn't afford to be a pilot. So my mom was 100% in my support. She was the person who was with me all the time, and she could do anything to make my dreams come true, and I really appreciate that from her, you know?
Wow, that's amazing. Your mom sounds incredible.
Yeah, she's definitely a hero. So I went to this high school, and then when I graduated, I didn't know what to do with my life because I wanted to be a pilot. I was very good with numbers and in chemistry, and I remember one of my teachers, Maria Elena, my chemistry teacher, she wanted me to become like a chemistry engineer because I have potential for it, and she was like, no, forget about aviation for now. You can go and be a chemistry, science, and then after a couple of years you will be able to afford it and blah blah blah. But very deep inside of me, I always know that I just wanted to be around airplanes because I love them. It's my passion, my passion. So my mom told me that, well, why you don't become an AMP first? In that way, I will be able to afford it a little bit better, And because also she took me once to one of the most important aviation schools in Colombia, in Antioquia. It's called AAA, La AAA. These schools, they build up pilots. So when I was in there doing the interview and everything to be able to become a pilot in Colombia, I noticed that it was going to be very, very expensive because pretty much gave me a profile and tell me how much it was going to cost. And it was really, really high. But also takes more time. It's different. In here, you can get your license, if you work really hard and you fly quite often, they say 3 times a week, you can get from private to commercial in 1 year and a half,
Yeah.
If you make, however, in Colombia, if you make it a priority, it will take 3 years.
Definitely a big difference.
Yeah, it is really different. And the airspace are very different, and learning all of the ground stuff in Spanish is definitely way different.
But do you have to learn it in both languages? Because English is the aviation language around the world, or do you just learn it in Spanish?
You learn it in Spanish from the beginning in Colombia, but a lot of things doesn't transfer quite right from one language to the other. So it can create a gap, if I may say that way.
Understood. So then it's extra work when you come to the United States. So how did you end up finally starting your training? You're there at the school with your mom, and they give you the budget, and what's next?
Well, when I was in my AMP school, that was in an university in Medellin. It was La Universidad Pascual Bravo, I guess. Yes, it was the University of Pascual Bravo. That was the name of it.
Okay.
Robledo in Medellin. So in Pascual Bravo, I was doing well. I had very good credits, and my scores were a little bit high. So I started knocking doors based on that, and I borrowed some money from people, and shortly I had a good amount of money. So I decided to come to the States and do in here the aviation because It's easier, the airplanes are more available than in Colombia. The weather, because, in the tropical, you can have challenging weather, and sometimes not all of the days are flyable, like in America. Because I did my training in Florida, which was a little bit more dry than the weather was living in Colombia.
No, yeah, Florida has great weather for flying, and I can imagine how challenging that's got to be in Colombia. How long did it take you once you got to Florida, and what school did you go to? What, order did you do your ratings in, and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, well, it was very funny because when I came to Florida, I know a little bit of English, but believe me, it wasn't enough to make an aviation career for it. And I don't think that my English is great right now, but at least I can, manage it around.
Your English is fantastic. And by the way, I'm sure it's a lot better than most Americans' Spanish. So,
believe me, I have met some Americans that have pretty good Spanish. So
yeah, no, not to generalize. A lot do speak Spanish as well, but I think that we in the United States tend to speak less languages than people in other parts of the world.
Because if you know English, you can go anywhere. It will be way easier to communicate because first is the official aviation language, and second,
yes,
pretty much is a requirement everywhere to learn English because that is the way to communicate in other countries. But anyways, so when I get to school in Florida, it's a school that is located in New Smyrna Beach. It was very good. It was Part 141. And because it was a Part 141, before they put you in the airplane, they have to give you ground school ahead. So you go to a classroom with your classmates, and you do 4 hours every day for 3 weeks of ground school.
Oh, wow.
So, oh my God, the first day of class, I was very afraid because I came rushing the day before from the airport. Everything looked completely different. It was like in a movie. And then when I arrived to the ground school the next day, and I sit down in my chair and I look at the teacher, in 4 hours, I pick up around 10 words. And that made me very, very discouraged.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Only 10 words in English that I could associate and be familiar with. That was crazy. It was terrible. It was so bad. So I had a place in a room that we rent in some lady's house. Her name was Terry, and she was really nice. So I remember crying to Terry and told her that I was afraid, that I didn't know if I was able to do this because, wow, 10 words in 4 hours was really bad, But in school, I find some friends, like Thaddeus. He was a very important person in my life and in my career because he was the first friend that I made in the United States. And Thaddeus was in ground school because he had his own airplane. He has been a private pilot forever. He's 60. And he just wanted to refresh knowledge,
And he went to a Part 141 school just as a refresher?
Yes, because I think that he had he knew the owner of the school, and he just wanted to go to the ground school because he owned his own Cessna 140. He was really nice to me, and he speaks a little bit of Spanish, and he helped me out a little bit with some words that I wasn't familiar with in how the system works, and he explained me a little bit about systems and airspace and regulations, and he helped me a lot. I think that I couldn't have made it without his help. And we're still friends. He's a great, great guy.
That's awesome. I bet you'll be friends for the rest of your life. And who knew when you met him the first day that you guys were going to end up having that kind of awesome relationship?
That is true. In this career, it will surprise you how many good people with good hearts you find out there that just want to share the aviation culture. And I think that is really, really important because, it's a passion, it's like a sport. It's like something that you really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get bit by the bug, it's over. At least it was for me. What ratings do you have now?
Right now, I'm I have to study double because I have to learn English and aviation at the same time. My private pilot license took me a while. It took me over a year.
Oh, good. So I don't feel so bad.
Yeah. Private pilot is the hardest license. Once you achieve private pilot, then everything else will become more familiar and more accessible. Does it make sense? The subject is not very foreign anymore. When you're a private pilot, you become from zero to hero.
Yeah.
So I did my private pilot license in over a year. Then I was blessed because at the end of my private, I met my CFI that he has been pretty important person and character in my career. I think that he was the main reason that kept me going, He was very encouraging and very professional and really, really talented pilot in flight instructor. He was like my father CFI role model, I wanted to grow to be like him, His name is Chris Forbes, and if he's listening to this, hey, Chris, you are the best. Thank you for everything. So I met him at the end of my private, and he had to fix mistakes that I have made and bad habits and things, So I got my instrument license with him, and he gave me a heads up of what I needed to know, and I was a little bit more familiar with the course and with the English, and that one took me just a month, the instrument license.
Wow.
From 6 in the morning to 2 and 1 in the morning, just aviation,
Wow.
And
that's dedication.
Yeah, exactly. And I was flying every single day, sometimes twice a day to finish up the hours. So that license was like a fast track license. Then I did my commercial multi-engine with a couple of CFIs, but at the end, Chris came back to the course. And I finished that one maybe in 2 months. 2-3 months, maybe 3 months. And by that time, I already met my husband. Oh my gosh, he's fantastic. I couldn't have made it without my husband either.
Is your husband an A&P?
Yeah, he's a mechanic, and I met him in the school that I went to. So at that time, I was already talking to him, and he have helped me out a lot, knowledge-wise, and he encouraged me to study a lot, which was really good. And then after that, I pretty much finished my commercial multi-engine license. And after that, I just got married. So when I got married, you cannot continue your licenses because when you are training, you have to do something called TSA. Do you know what is that? So what happened with 9/11, foreigner students, they have to do a background check. And when I got married, I think on my I-20, that was a document that they gave you, it already expired, So I just pretty much, it was going through all of these legal processes and lawyers, to pretty much change my status in the country to apply for the work permit and the green card. So my lawyer recommended me that it was better just to give a break to aviation for now, and then pretty much do something else that it will not involve flying the aircraft yet, so I don't have to go through all of the TSA process. Does it make sense?
Well, yeah, no, that's incredible because I'm not a foreign student, so I haven't had to go through all of that. The impact that it has on how much longer it takes and how much more difficult it becomes. It makes it a lot more difficult than just being from the U.S. Amazing.
That is true. It's really, really hard.
So, and we're so impressive. I didn't know that you had started out as an A&P. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I trust you even more now whenever I get into an airplane with you.
You know what? He was so nice to me, and the school helped out a lot. I really have to thank Danny and George Rollins. Danny is the owner of the school because they allow me to volunteer in the hangar and help out here and there, you know. I didn't receive any income because I couldn't. But the good thing is that they put me in contact with the airplanes, and like that I won't forget what I have been learning all of those years. Does it make sense?
Perfect sense. It's easy to forget because it's so much information that once you stop using it, yeah, it gets rusty fast.
So Danny and George Rollins plus my husband, they helped me out to pretty much be volunteer in the maintenance department of the school. So I learned a lot. I understand way better the airplanes because I could see, the mechanics behind it. Because in Colombia, I just did a year, and in the year, what you see really is science. You don't see much about the airplanes itself, you know?
Right.
So in here, I was more in touch with them. I helped my husband here and there. I learned until my documents came. And then when my documents came, they allowed me to work as a parts assistant in the parts department because at that time I will already have enough knowledge about parts and airplanes and prices and things like that. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So I worked in there for a year, and while I was working in there, I was working on my commercial single and my CFI license. And then once I finished with that, they allowed me to transfer to the flight department, which I worked maybe, 3 months in the school in Epic for as a CFI, I would say. And then after that, my husband decided to move to Las Vegas. Woo! Vegas time. So while he was here being established and getting a place to live and find work, find a job, I needed to stay in the school. Once he figured it out a little bit where we were going to live, he had already a job, then I came here with him.
And that's where I got to meet you, which makes me so happy because I love you. I love flying with you. I think you're the best person too.
Yeah, I feel that everything that I have experienced built me up as good CFI.
No, I think you're wonderful, and at least your style of teaching was very good for my style of learning and your personality, and chemistry is really important. I only have 22 and a half hours right now logged with the flight instructor, and it's been with a lot of different CFIs because I've been moving around and my life has been going from one place to another pretty quickly. And the chemistry with each person makes a world of difference. It's surprising. But actually, I want to know what's next for you. What do you want to do next?
Well, I already completed my airline requirements. I have over 1,500 hours so far. Don't get me wrong, I love to teach because all of the mistakes that I have made in my previous licenses have built me up as a good CFI, and it has been easy for me to identify mistakes on students. Let's put it that way. There is some CFIs that are good pilots, but not so good CFIs. And there is CFIs that are very good flight instructors, but they are not such an amazing pilots. And you have both amazing CFIs and amazing pilots. So I think that for me, it's easier to teach because all of the mistakes that I have made, and the tips that my instructor have gave me and his experience have give me a positive transfer, And I want to keep teaching, but I also think that I am ready to move to the corporate or the airline world. So I am looking right now for a airline job, and I am applying places, and put all of my resume together and everything. So I want to move to the airlines, hopefully a regional. That is the other side of it because, there is no regionals located in Las Vegas. So I know that I will have to commute somewhere else. And
Right.
That has been a little bit complicated because of my husband, and I don't want to leave him alone all the time. But we had enough time to discuss it already and to think about it, and he's willing to support me whatever I will have to do.
You have a very supportive husband, and you had a very supportive mother, and you also met some really supportive people throughout your training. So I think it sounds like that makes such a difference, and I think you're really lucky, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, that is true. I have a lot of nice people in my life that have helped me out to be what I am right now.
So I want to ask you about any advice you might have for student pilots.
From my experience, I will have to say that I believe in God and in destiny. And I think that we were designed to reach a goal. In the beginning, it's going to be really hard because like I say, it will involve a lot of money. And I have been in your shoes as a student pilot, and I know what it is to be putting every single cent that you have and the ones that you don't have into training, and how much the lack of money will affect the training, because if you stop training, you will not achieve the levels of the license that you may have to do, This is a skill. It's a skill, like when you dance or when you do cook and things like that you just achieve with experience.
And it takes muscle memory.
Exactly. So it's going to be really hard, and sometimes we do what we have to do, but at the end, it's going to be totally worth it. Some people will be afraid of making loans because they don't want to get in debt to become pilots, but they will see that after they get all of their licenses and the ratings, they will be able to successfully pay all of the loans that they have made. And I say it for personal experience. I was very afraid when I was in my instrument license before I met my husband, because I thought that I would never be able to achieve my goals, and I didn't know how I was going to pay all of the loans that I have made. But thanks to God, and I think that everything falls perfectly in God's world, that they give you, and God gives you the tools to pretty much complete your training and then pay it off, whatever you borrow.
And thanks to your hard work and your dedication too, of course.
Yes, of course. It's going to be hard. It was going to be a lot of tears, because the problem with aviation career, more than a career, is also a dream, Right. Because it's a dream, it has a lot of emotions involved. So you see a lot of frustration with students. Sometimes you see anxiety. You can see fatigue, discouragement. And as a flight instructor, that kind of make you very concerned, because if the student is having all of those emotions, that will block them from learning, So our job as flight instructors, more than being a mentor and giving you the knowledge and teaching you how to fly, it's also help you overcome your fears and help you reduce the anxiety and motivate you and show you that it's possible, And that is the best thing about being an instructor that I will really miss when I will merge to the airlines. That is the happiness that you feel when you see your students succeed. When your students go solo for first time in the traffic pattern and in the ground shaking, biting your nails, seeing him go down and up, and you like holding the radio, having your heart in that plane, you know? Even if you're not on it, they become a very important part of you. All of my students have still a little bit of my heart. And a little bit of me will always be with them, and a little bit of them I will always carry with me. And everybody have different behaves and different personalities, and it's amazing how much a student can teach you, like person-wise.
Wow, and I'm sure it keeps your skills very fresh when you constantly have to be teaching people.
Exactly. So I would really miss the happiness that you feel when they finish, when they have their certificate in their hand, and you see those big smiles, and they are so grateful of all of the hard work that you put into them. That is the best rewarding thing ever, you know?
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I never looked at it from that side. My perspective has been only as a student, and it's really awesome to hear what it's like for the instructor. Do you have a favorite airline that you might be interested in, would be like your dream airline to work for?
Yes, I do, but I won't say the name yet.
Okay.
Because I may never get in that one. It has been, I will give you a clue. It has been an airline that flies to Colombia. So that is my ultimate goal, be able to work for that specific airline, because I grew up seeing their planes landing and taking off from my home, you know, and that is the coolest thing ever.
Oh, yes, I can totally understand that. I'm getting goosebumps.
Hopefully one day I will be able to have an interview in that airline, and if not, then every airline is unique and every airline has their positive things, you know.
Any airline would be lucky to have you. You are a wonderful pilot and a wonderful person, and you're also very easy to get along with, which is important.
I have an advice for everybody that is listening right now.
Okay.
Every time that you will do something related to aviation, give your heart, or even related to whatever you love to do. Give 110%. Never think that is enough, because the more you do, the better it will be. So even if you achieve it or not, or even if you do well or not, just give 100%. Then you go home and you think, oh my gosh, it wasn't the best flight, but I give everything on the field. Does it make sense? I don't regret it, even if I failed my lesson, or if I failed my check ride, or if I had to redo it again, because I did it with the heart and I gave the best of me. And stand up and do the best that you can the next time, and keep doing that, because at the end it will pay off.
Wow, thank you so much. That's actually really great advice, really inspiring, and hopefully it makes a difference for other people the way that it's making a difference for me. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add before we say goodbye and wrap it up?
Well, I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to share my experience, in my opinion. And I wish you the best of luck for all of you guys. And I will just want to let you know that you will become whatever you want to be, and then you will find people in your career that it will support you and will be there for you.
And that concludes our very first episode of Chicks Who Fly, and my conversation with the wonderful, amazing, and impressive Alejandra Newport. Please be sure to check out this and future episodes on chickswhofly.com. And I am considering putting up a Patreon page for people who want to really be a part of this podcast and this process. So thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we will see you soon next time at Chicks Who Fly.